Hey scrapbook friends, it's Nicole and I'm here to teach a quick tutorial on a technique that I did not invent, but it's called magic mats. Now there are several different ways you can do this, but I'm going to show the one that I use the most often, and then after I show this version, I can show you some of the other versions. But that is to be able to cut 4.5 by 6.5 photo mats for your scrapbook layout out of one 12 by 12 piece of cardstock. So what you want to do when you are cutting these mats, because we're doing a 4.5 by 6.5, is you're going to want to add those two numbers together to get the size that you want to start with. So for us, for this size, we're going to want an 11-inch square to be able to cut our magic mats. So after I cut the 4.5 by 6.5, I'll show you how to figure the calculations of others. So you can start this sometimes by punching, with a border maker cartridge or one of our border punches. But for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to cut off that 1 inch with my trimmer. So I'm going to cut 1 inch, and then I'm going to turn my paper 90 degrees and cut another inch off. So you can of course save these. Here's a piece from the new Home Sweet Home. I think we could have cut that off and still been right at about 1 inch if you'd wanted to do that. But you don't have to just waste this. You can do it for something else. But just to be speedy, we're going to do it like this. Okay, so we want a 4.5 by 6.5 inch mat, and so you want to take the smaller number first and use your the measurements on your trimmer. So right here is the 4.5 inch line right here. So I'm going to put my paper at 4.5 inches, and then I need to cut to 6.5 inches to get my mat the right size. So the Creative Memories trimmer has this blue blade housing that is 2 inches wide, and the white line shows where where the blade is going to start and stop. Kind of. It's a rotary blade, and so sometimes it does go over a little bit. So I like to just add that inch. So because I want 6.5, I'm going to go take just the edge. I actually like to take the edge of this little inside piece right here. Not necessarily the edge of the blue. Let's see if I can show you. Not necessarily the edge of the blue, but the edge of that little white piece to where I want to start my cut. So I'm going to go here to 7. That actually is probably why I go over, isn't it? Because that's a little bit long. All right, so I'm going to go here to 7.5. And you don't have to come in this direction, but I just find it easier if I start at the number I want to end at to make sure that I do it correctly. So we're going to go to 7.5. I didn't fill that cut all the way through. All right, and that has put my my actual cut at 6.5. Then you turn your paper 90 degrees. Again, put it 4.5, 6.5 to cut, which means 7.5 for the edge of the housing. Turn it again, 4.5, 6.5, which means 7.5. And then the last one is super easy because all you do is do that 4.5 by 6.5, and all you're left with is this little 2-inch scrap that you could use for something else. Okay, so that's how you're going to cut 4.5 by 6.5 inch mats from an 11-inch square using the Creative Memories 12-inch trimmer. You could use, I guess you could use any trimmer, but this is the one I know how to use, and with these measurements. So if this is what you need to cut, you're done. You don't have to keep watching. If you'd like to know about how to cut different sizes, again, it's going to be about some math. When we first learned this technique, we were taught how to do it from someone from the Creative Memories home office, how to cut 4 5x7s. So that one's easy because you don't have to trim anything, because of course a 5x7 equals 12 inches. So that one's easy to do, a 5x7 square. So I'm going to come down here so that my housing is at the 8, but my cutter is on the 7. So I can see that, whoops, if you turn your head, but it's just so much easier for me just to add that inch So I'm put my cutter on the 8 and cut back. So I'm doing 5 by 7. So 5 by 7 plus 1 is 8. 5. 8. 5. You can see that I'm right here on the 7. And same thing, I've ended up with this little 2-inch square and my 4 5 by 7 mats. So the other size that I like to cut is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. And I admit that I still very often have to just do this math. You'd think I'd remember. This one I can remember because it's easy. But if I want to do 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, which gives me just like 1/8 of an inch around a picture, then I just have to do this math together. And so I get 4 and 6 is 10 plus 2 quarters is 10 1/2 inches square, right? Obviously, because I'm just a 1/2 inch smaller than that. So this is one that works well with if you do have, like you punch with one of our border punches. And you end up with a smaller piece to start. So this one I'm going to have to cut off 1.5 inches to do my 10 1/2 inch square. And then I'm going to do the 4.25, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So this goes to 7 1/4. I hope that part is making sense. 4 1/4, 7 1/4, 4 1/4, 7 1/4, and 4 1/4 by 7 1/4. Once you start going down to a smaller size, if you're starting with a full 12 by 12 piece of paper, you probably don't need to do this technique because you can get 6 4 by 6 mats from a 12 by 12 piece of paper. But if you have a piece of paper that's already, that's been partially cut and you want to know what size mats you can get out of it. So like I've got this piece, let's see, it is, all right, this is a 9-inch square. It's 9 by 12. So I'm going to cut 3 inches off to give me a 9-inch. It wasn't a 9-inch square, but now it's a 9-inch square. And so I would just have to kind of do some math to find what size I might want. So 4 by 6 would be 10. 3 by 6 would be 9. So 3 1/2 by, it's not going to be a picture size, I guess. 3. You could do a 3 by 6. You could do a 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. Let's try that one. Let's do a 3 1/2 by 5 1/2 because I think that one will be the right size. I mean, it wouldn't be like, this wouldn't be something you'd ordinarily do. I'm just kind of keeping going. Okay, so I hope you're getting that this is the measurement line, but I'm adding that inch. So I want to do 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. So I'm on the 3 1/2 line. Here's the 5 1/2 line, but I want to go to 6 1/2 because I've got that extra inch. So remember when pictures used to be 3 by 5? This would have been perfect. Or maybe, we still have some of those pictures that size in our stash. 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. I think I cut that first one wrong. 3 1/2, nope, 3 1/2 by 5 1/2. And every time you end up with this little 2-inch square and then your 3 1/2 by 5 1/2 inch mats. So hopefully this makes sense to you. The 4 1/2 by 6 1/2 is probably my most used size, with the 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 coming in second, but I also do sometimes like to cut 5 by 7s. So hopefully this was helpful to you and is a technique that you can copy and help you to get more mats per piece of cardstock for your scrapbook layouts. Thanks so much and happy scrapbooking.